Welcome back. It has turned into an absolutely festival here on this Friday, as it has a tendency to do. Charlie Miller's with us. And we were joined by George Leach, who is in the process of making us jealous because he's in there in the midst of making some fine barbecue. I can almost smell it all the way from North Carolina. Man. And that's another thing. That is a nonstop process, making barbecue. That is like a non-stop thing.
Yeah, it's just literally 24
How did you get into that? How did you get into? I know I asked you this before, but I don't remember. How did you get into this serious? I mean, it's you got to dive into this stuff. Or you got to start getting some knowledge. Like Charlie said, you got to know. I mean, there's just all kinds of little things to know in whatever you're doing to be good.
Yeah, you got to learn all your cooking processes. Man, this is time. It's nothing more than I say trying to get for me trying to do a right hand layup, which I still probably can't do. But with barbecue, you got to take your time with it. My brother-in-law was the one who taught me how to. I could already grill, but I didn't know how to smoke. So my brother-in-law, he always had to pull behind smoker, and I just took to that, and I loved it. I loved seeing the outcome of it. I love the cooking process, the methods. I came up with my own recipes. My mom's a big time cook, so our sides are just as good as our meats or whatever. But I grew up around food. I love food. My life is based off of what restaurant we're going to go to, or where me, my wife, and the kids are going to travel to go eat somewhere. So it's just it's fun. I've always done it. I did it in Indiana a little bit before I graduated. I just always grilled for everybody. Overseas, I always had people over and I grilled, and then I retired and I was bored. I was in a cast. I tore my Achilles, so hell, I was out in the driveway smoking meats every day. So that just turned, a hobby turned into a career.
That's right.
I'm glad you said meats at the end of that. But it's funny how hobbies can turn into something way more for people. But the reason that happens is passion, or it's because whatever it is you do, if you don't have passion to do it, I don't know how good you can be at it. If your just heart is just not in it. Charlie does what he loves, and you make a lot of people happy on a daily basis.
Right.
So that alone has got to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part. Like, just, like catering like the wedding. Like I do, people don't know, I don't do a lot of social media because I keep a lot of my stuff private. Like here, back in the day, I had to start by sampling and earning my clients and going out and getting business. These days, guys look at the social media where you parked at. Okay, cool. I'm gonna call his client and see if I can come on his territory. So I don't even post anything, but we do 50 odd weddings a year. We do 200 private caterings a year. And to see somebody choose us for their special day, I know how me and my wife were for our wedding. We chose our favorite restaurants and that. Our whole wedding was based off people to experience the experience we had at this restaurant, and they loved it. So I feel honored to get chosen for stuff like that. And even at NASCAR, you're putting out. I mean, NASCAR is a beast. It's like just putting out as much as you can. But for me, it's putting out as much as you can without lowering the level of your quality, because you can get some fair food, some fair crap out there, and it's like, no, I'm giving you fresh, handmade stuff, and it pays off, and people see you. Okay, cool. I saw you at NASCAR. I'm gonna have you up for my company for 200 people. All that stuff. If I didn't love it or if I didn't care about that, I wouldn't get these opportunities. Or you even calling me saying, "Hey, George, let's try to start this up here at school." You gotta trust me to do all that. Like that's a big deal up there.
Well, what I want to share this real quick. So, Jim, you talked about having passion. George talked about his family lineage of having a love for cooking. That's called a primal cue. And I realized for me, guys, at 44, my primal cue was not my passion, my motivation, my aspiration to play high level. It was me putting my sister's shoes on when she was in high school, and I wanted to be like her because she was a good basketball player. George, it could have been watching his family cook, and he had a love for cooking. not realizing that was going to turn into something way deeper, right?
No,
Because
no.
motivation inspiration will last for so long. Now you start nitpicking at things to get you hyped about. When you realize, man, I'm listening to George, man, that's years. That's 20 plus years of that embodying experience of food bringing people together. That's what I'm hearing from George, man. That's beautiful to hear.
Switching topics to a little bit of basketball, George. I know that we haven't talked since they hired Mike Woodson. The change that's gone on here. So a complete change here. Dane Fife, Mike Woodson, Thad Matta. A lot of different names will be on the side or in and around the program this year. And it's just wanted to get your thoughts. What do you see from the outside?
Yeah, well, when Dan got the job, he called me. He was like, "George, we're gonna take up a barbecue here in Indiana." I'm like, "You just got the job. Focus on that right now." But I'm happy to see Dane there. I was hating to see Mike go. Me and Mike came in together. I got a special place for Mike Roberts. I love that guy. But I mean, he's more than good. Michael always fall on his feet. I know he's at Cincinnati right now, which is a great gig. It's good to see Coach Woodson, in there, and just because the thing about Indiana, the reason why I went to Indiana was because it had a prestige about it, and it wasn't that they always had the best records, but it's an allure to come to Indiana for a guy. I'm not from there. I had no idea what it was from just being a powerhouse basketball school, right? So when I say powerhouse, I think of Duke, Carolina, UCLA, Kentucky, right? So I'm thinking that it can go back to that type of prestige, because it's not that, and I don't do the blame game with Arch and all that kind of stuff. He tried his best. I firmly believe he tried his best, but sometimes you just can't get all those pieces of work together. So now it's up to Coach Woodson to try to figure this out and hopefully get it back to where it was. But I mean, I always have high hopes. People call me Mr. Optimistic, but that's just how I am. You have to be. High hopes, but I believe that it can turn around and be better.
Oh, I believe it's on its way. Like you mentioned, just getting the names that you mentioned. I mean, all of those guys, the one thing that they all have in common, they all care about the program at a much deeper level. The program itself means something to them, like it does you, like it does Charlie. It matters, and that's passion right there. If you don't have that passion to start with, I think you're starting a couple steps behind, and so these guys are starting a couple steps ahead.
100% agree. 100% agree.
And now you've got a cross section of coaching: Mike Woodson from the NBA, Dane Fife, of course, and you got Thad Matta in the background. You can't forget about.
In the background.
So there's all kinds of there's the new rule change that's coming down the pike that will allow that to not be the case, to where him or some of the other guys can be involved with coaching on the floor at certain times of the year.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think it'd be great. I think the program is going in the right direction. I hate to see anybody lose their job. I've been in this position where I lost my job for somebody else, but you got to keep it moving, You
talked about something earlier. I think we may have been in the break, and I think it's of huge importance. We were talking about business, and I, how much did you take from sports basketball to run your business? But you talked about in that, you were so taught to be humble all the time, and now it's a reverse because you need to make money on it, kind of like the name, image, likeness deal that's going on right now. And I see Joe Smith's going to join us. You can bring Joe on in. I'd love to have him in with these guys as well. Hey, Joe Smith, how are you?
Good, Jim. How you doing?
Great. George got Charlie Leach. Miller and George Leach here.
All right. Look at the former Hoosiers there. Great seeing you guys.
Got a lineup for you, brother. Just asking George, though, about what was I asking? I got confused. Or I forgot what I was asking about. The name, image, likeness. Yeah, you've got to change that thought. But this is that. Can you imagine having to do that while you're in school? But now you're trying to get yourself to do that. How and that's been hard for you?
Man, it's all about maturity. It's times where I'm out here like, what am I doing? I've become more of not just trying to just grind myself on the ground, becoming more of a numbers guy and trying to what's working, what's not working, like my profits, my losses, my bottom line. You have to literally figure out who you're going to put in the game in that lineup to make you successful. Or if you're getting blown out, you need to figure out what works while you're getting blown out. And then that way, the next time you get into an event, you know what works. So sometimes you take those L's, but everything's a learning process, especially with business. But, I don't feel, I've had some failures, but I don't feel they're failures. Tax stuff I had to learn. I got to wear a bunch of hats.
Learning.
But
those are all learning.
Yeah. So
how much of this sounds like everything you do on the court with kids, just nonstop?
It's the same stuff. It's situation changes. It's all the same.
It's life.
Situations change, right? And we've committed to be lifelong learners. I think every human is, and I think that what we are trying to do every day is maximize our human potential. George is doing it with food. George is doing it with food. George is doing it with relationships, with learning how to get turned down, get told no. That no teaches him how to get the yes performance feedback. The shot the kid missed puts his head down. I got to find a way emotionally and mentally, spiritually to keep this kid up, edify him, right? It's the same concept. And I think we've learned those lessons, hard knock being players, but then this is why we do what we do. So it's like, you go to school for 4 years to help create the next 40 years of your life. And now for me, I'm at the second half of it.